Okay, got my screen share going up. Let me make sure I can see that on the screen. Perfect. All right.
Good luck.
All right, guys. So um, let's start out this solution by taking a look at server routes. Okay, so server routes in Nuxt are a really cool feature. Um, but one kind of side note here in Nuxt is that you can use a command called nuxt add to create new file types. So I'm going to do that to create a server route now. So I want to show you guys that. So if I do npx and then nuxt and then add, okay, then I have these options down here to choose which I want to add. I'm going to say API. Now, the reason I get those options is because of an extension I have on my computer called Fig. But basically, it's just a regular command here. Okay. Okay. So I have npx nuxt add API, and then the API that I want to add, I'm going to call cart. Okay. So I'll hit enter, and yeah, cool. So now we have inside of /server/API, I have a file called cart.ts, and we have some kind of default, just boilerplate code for a Nuxt event, or excuse me, for a Nuxt server route. So what I really like about this is I don't have to remember what I need to export by default, and I don't need to remember, what I have available inside of this API route. I have that pre-filled in for me here. So I've got the event, right? Okay, so let's what I really want to do is so inside of cart.view. Okay, so cart.view is, let me see, I don't actually have my app up here. So let me come over to my cart, view my cart, and I am logging in. It's getting them. Okay, so this is the button. This is the cart page, and this is the checkout button. Okay. On click of that button, we call a function called handle checkout. And right now, all it's doing is console logging checkout. So if I were to go into my console here and click checkout, yeah, right now we're just getting checkout. But what if instead I make a request to my cart.ts here? Okay. So this is me using the built-in fetch function for Nuxt. Okay, so Nuxt has this cool $fetch function that's available pretty much everywhere throughout your Nuxt app, and it is on the client side. It's going to actually make an HTTP request. But on the server side, if I were to fetch like an API route from another API route or something like that, or fetch, that doesn't really make as much sense, but fetch within a component, when a component is being rendered on the server side, if I were to call $fetch, okay, and reference one of the API routes, Nuxt is actually smart enough not to make a whole nother HTTP request because it knows that route exists in the current code base. And it's just going to actually just call the code in that route. So that's pretty cool. That's what you get with this $fetch. Okay, so I'm going to start typing in what I want to fetch here. And once again, you can see, I really love this about Nuxt is it's smart enough to know those API routes that are available if you use $fetch. So I can just click /API/cart, okay, because that's the one I want to access here. And let's await the result of that, okay? And we'll just console log the result of that. Awesome. Okay. So I think that actually might end up being a promise, but I'm expecting hello cart here. Let's see what happens. So now when I hit checkout, okay, yeah, awesome. I do get hello cart. So it has spoken to the server, and we are getting this in response. So the next step that I want to do here is I want to actually talk to Stripe. Okay, so the reason I want to talk to Stripe is because yes, I have some products in my cart, And yes, I know how much they cost because I've saved that in Deskree, remember. But ultimately, I want to just kind of verify with Stripe that the prices are accurate, and that I can get the proper products into the checkout session with Stripe. Okay. So what I can start doing now is start actually talking to Stripe since we're on the server. This is all on the server. Okay, so how do I talk to Stripe? Well, if I come over here to, let me bring that down some here. Okay, so if I come over here to the Stripe documentation, you can see that we can require Stripe. This is the list all products endpoint, by the way. Okay, we can require Stripe and then pass it our key, our secret key. So let's do that. I will import Stripe since we're using ES6 syntax here. I will import Stripe from Stripe, and then I will call Stripe, right? And it wants the API key. I think that's correct, right? Or do I new up Stripe? No, it is a class. So I'll say let's make that capital. And we'll say new Stripe and pass it the API key. Okay, cool. There it is. All right. So the way we can get the API key in here is with a composable given by Nuxt, and it's called use runtime config. Okay. So the reason this works is because over in nuxt.config.ts, we have this runtime config option set. And inside of that, we have this, notice we have this public section, this public key with this object value. So this is for everything that can be exposed to the browser. But everything outside of public here is stuff that should not ever be exposed to the browser. Okay, and so we can call use runtime config in order to access all those variables. Use runtime config. Okay? And the variable that I want off of there was what? Stripe secret. Okay. So now I'll just pass that into Stripe. Okay. And let's see, why does it have an issue? Expected 2 arguments, but got 1. Dot Stripe secret new Stripe. Why is that? Let's just put this right here. And we'll say const Stripe secret. Okay. And Stripe expects an API key and a config object. Oh, I see. Okay. So we want to add the Stripe secret, and then we'll just do config is not assignable to type Stripe config. Why is that asking for these things? I did not have to do this previously. That's okay. Let me just leave that piece out. I know, I think it's because I'm in a TS file, so it generated a TypeScript file when I ran the command. We've been working in JavaScript most of this time and haven't caught some of those issues. So let me just rename this to JS, and yeah, JavaScript's a little less strict. Okay, so now we will say our Stripe instance should now be able to request products from our Stripe account. Okay, and if we go back to the documentation here, we can see that stripe.products is how we get those. And the list method is the function that I want to call because I want to list all of the different products that are within my cart. Okay, so we can say Stripe dot. We haven't got to actually what's in the cart yet. This is just literally going to list all my products. Okay, so we're going to say stripe.products.list. Okay, and we will probably have to await that, and then let's return. Let's see. Let's just return the result of that. Okay, and let's see what we get. All right, so over in the browser now, I will pull my console back up here, and when I hit check out, okay, we're still getting hello cart. What have I done incorrectly? We're returning that. Okay. Let's see here. Let me just give the page a refresh and return. Nope, still getting hello cart. Just curious. Oh, I bet it's because I changed the name of it to .js and Nuxt just, I confused Nuxt. Let me try restarting the server real quick. All right. So await can only be used inside of an async function. Ah, okay. So let's add async right here. So yeah, I awaited without actually making my function asynchronous. So that's of course a big no-no. And I could see the reason I knew what my issue was because down here in the console I have this big error. It says await can only be used inside of a function, cart.js, right? Okay. So now when I give the page a refresh over here, I'll hit checkout. And perfect. Yeah, this time I have some data directly from Stripe. Okay, so you can see I've got several different products here. Most of these are hot sauces. We've got an ID of cooking course, and so there's some other ones I played around with for some other things. But yeah, essentially these are all the products inside of my Stripe account, right? But we don't really care about all the products in our Stripe account. We just really want to verify the price for the products that are inside of our cart. Okay, so we can here in Stripe, this list all products can take a, let's see, it can take an IDs parameter. Okay, so and what that does is only return the products with the given IDs. So this is perfect, right? We know the IDs of our products in our cart. So what we can do is we can pass those IDs in our request here. So at this point, I actually want to, it makes more sense for this to be a post request, right? So we want to pass the IDs as the body of the post request. We're not really getting information. We're kind of, well, I guess we are technically getting information, but I would just prefer to use a post request here because we're doing some processing there on the server side. That's more not only just getting information. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add to fetch. I'm going to add the option. This is just like the interface is just the same as the normal fetch for your browser. Okay. I'm going to add the what is it? The method option, right? So we'll say method is going to be post, and then we want to send in our body. We want to send all of those IDs. Okay. So I have in my cart store, the actually before we get to that, let me just show you something real quick. So now when I post to the same endpoint that we already have existing, this time let me refresh the page just to make sure we're all good. Okay, when I post to that endpoint that already exists, I've got a 403 on my page. My register, my login, my session is timed out. So let me go ahead and log in again. So this is Daniel at vueschool.io. Okay. And we will log back in here. Okay. So back in my cart, now I will hit checkout again. Okay. And we actually still get everything in here. And the reason for that is because we have allowed cart.js to be totally open to any request method. Okay, so post would work here, get would work here, but a lot of times you want to restrict your API endpoints to do different things for different methods, right? In Nuxt, the way you can do that is you can actually just rename your server endpoints and append on the end which request method you want it to support. So I can support post here, okay? And I'll say okay there. That was just one of my extensions wanting to update some of the auto-generated TypeScript stuff for me. I'm just going to ignore that. Okay, so but now inside of here we have cart.post, and I know Nuxt can be a little finicky, so let me restart the server here just to make sure it caught up on that. So now my post request should work fine, but if I were to change it to a GET request, it would say, well, that endpoint doesn't exist. Okay, so let's try that one more time. I'll hit checkout. Yes, we get our data here, but if I were to remove this, okay, and hit checkout again, this time we get a 405 method get is not allowed on this route. Pretty cool. So let me just add the method post back in there now. And now let's actually get our IDs going into the body here. So I'll create a body. It'll have the IDs, and this will be what our products live in our cart store, and under products. And then we want to map over each of these products in the cart store and just get their IDs. So if I remember correctly, the IDs for each product lived under a product.sys.id property there. Okay, so this time what I want to do is I want to pass in those IDs to Stripe. But how do I get them? So how do I get them from the request? How do I access that request body inside of my API route here? Well, to do that, I can use a function called, let me back that up. I can use a function called useBody. And this is just made available by Nuxt. It's auto imported for us, and you will always pass it the event for the request. All right. So now I can say body equals, and then let me just do this so you guys can see what the body looks like. Okay, so if I return body here, which by the way, instead of me going back and forth to the browser in order to make these requests and have to hit the button and stuff, well, I'm going to be hitting a button in here as well. But so I can stay inside of my IDE, this is actually a really good use case for that request directory, and use my REST client plugin that is built into the REST client plugin for VS Code. So let's create a new file here called cart.post.http. Okay, and here I am going to, let me just copy this stuff here. It's easier to start with. So I want to make a post request to localhost 3000. Remember, these could even be environment variables here. And I want to make the request to /API, which is where those server endpoints resolve, slash cart.post, right? And we don't need a authorization header, and content header will be good here, but the IDs that we wanted to pass in, I'll just fake them for now, okay? All right, so now when I hit send request, right pro error, oh, this needs to be not secure. Try sending it again. Awesome. Okay. So this time, this is what the response for this plugin looks like, for this extension looks like. But it looks like API/cart.post does not exist. That's because this should be just /cart. The .post determines the method, right? So let me try running that one more time. So yeah, you'll notice now it returns IDs 1 and 2, okay? Which is exactly what we were expecting. Cool, so that's nice, but we actually do need the IDs from our from the browser. So I just thought it'd be cool to kind of show you how that works. Let's now go back to the browser, and let's see what IDs we have returned. Okay, so these are the IDs from our cart products. Awesome, so now we have IDs, and there are the 3 IDs of the items in the cart. So now we can pass those to Stripe, so body.IDs, okay? And now when I click this time, it looks like we still get all 9 of the all 9 of the Stripe products. So why is that? If we take a look here, it should take an IDs parameter, only return products with the given IDs. Okay, stripe.products.list. So we should have IDs here, right? Am I misspelling something? Let me check the chat to see if any of you guys have thought about it. No. Okay. Why? Let's see. Body.IDs. Let me just give good old fallback, give the page a refresh, and let's see what happens, right? Nope, still have 9 version 1 products. Let me do this. Let's return body.IDs just to make sure we're passing in a proper IDs parameter there. Okay. We'll come back here, check out again. Oh, 404 not found. Okay, so that means there's some kind of error, I think, in my logic. Let's check out again. So this time we do get IDs array 3. Let me see. Do I need to JSON encode anything? Let me look. So, I see what my issue was. Okay, so use body is actually asynchronous. So I need to await. I did this while I was working on things earlier too. I need to await the result of use body. Okay, so now when I return body.IDs, this time I should get the actual IDs, and I do. Perfect. Okay, and now body.IDs should work here. Okay, and I will check out. Perfect. This time we have just those 3 products from Stripe. And now what's important on these products, in order for us to create our session, what we have to do is we have to get the default price here. So this is required for the session in Stripe. And I can show you that API reference here. So when we create a session in Stripe, we're required to have a cancel URL. Okay, this is the URL that the customer will be directed to if they cancel a payment and return to your website. Okay, we also have to have a mode, which we're going to use. Save the payment details to charge. We're going to use payment here. Success URL, which is where to redirect after the transaction has completed. But we also need our line items. Okay, so for payment mode, we need to do these line items, and essentially these are the items that we need inside of the cart. And the price, this line item price is going to correspond to the default price on each of our projects. Okay, so what I really want out of this products list is I want the default price of each one. Okay, so let's say this is our products from Stripe. Okay, and I want to return products from Stripe dot map. We'll say each product should. I just want the price of, or the default price. Excuse me, default price of each product. Okay, so we're returning that. Let's see what that looks like now. Oh, 500 server error. Okay. Return from Stripe. I think that was maybe under data. Let's just return products from Stripe real quick. And we'll hit checkout again. So yeah, it was under data. Okay, so we'll just call this res, and then we could say res.data.map. Okay, and let's see what that gives us. So now we got those default price IDs for each of the products. Awesome. This is what we need in order to start creating our session. So I am, just to save on time, going to quickly copy this. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do to create that session is we're going to call stripe.checkout.sessions.create. And this is going to take, remember that cancel URL? We just hard coded in localhost 3000 here, but you could use the event to get the proper URL for our site. I'm just going to leave it this for time's sake. That mode is payment, like we discussed just a minute ago. And our line items, we want to get using the products that we have, the price IDs that we have here. Excuse me. Okay, so what does that line item look like? What do each of the line items look like? So if we come back here, you can see line items is going to be an array, and each line item has a price, okay, which is the ID of the price or plan object, which is what we have. Okay, so we want an object with price in there. Okay, so I'll just change this to be an object, with a price property. Okay, and that'll be our product.default price. What else is required? Adjustable quantity. No, we do need quantity because remember our app supports quantities, right? But it's optional. So let's just leave it off for now and see what happens. Okay. So this is going to be our line items. Okay. And that can go right here. Okay. And so now let's return cart. So this is our session. Maybe that's better named session. Okay. Over here now, let's see what we get back. We get a 400 internal server error. Let's check the check this here. So quantity is required. Okay, that is not what you told me, docs. That says optional, but that's okay. So let's just hard code in a 1 quantity. Hard code in a 1 right now. So I like to do coding very like incrementally like this, right? I don't necessarily try to take care of all the eggs in a basket at one time. It's perfectly okay to fake some things until you can get to the next step, right? All right, so let's hit checkout because my goal right now is to really just get that session. And here we have the session. Perfect. Okay, so the important thing here is this URL, right? So if I were to copy this URL and open up in a new browser tab, yeah, there's that checkout session. So we've got one of our heartbeat hot sauces, one of the crystal, one of the Rockies bacon, which is exactly what we had in our cart. Awesome. Okay, so now let's get the, well, let's keep going in this line. We'll work on the quantity in just a second. Let's just make it to where that page will open on its own. So we're returning the session inside of cart here. So we need to redirect to that URL. So we got res dot, what was it? Oh, of course I cleared it out. Let's let's see that one more time. Okay. So it was just at the root of that object. Okay. So we have res.url, and I want to just since we're not working inside of our Vue application anymore, like this URL doesn't exist in our app, we don't need to use Vue router here. So I can just use the browser native way of redirecting a page. So that's window.location, and we'll just set it to that new URL. Okay. So now when I click checkout, awesome. Now we get redirected to the to that session page, to that checkout page. All right, so now let's get the quantity going on in there. So just like with our IDs, we could pass that to the API endpoint as well. So let's say let's not do IDs here. Let's do products, right? And then we could send the IDs along with their quantity. So now instead of doing just returning the ID here, now I could return the ID as well as the quantity. And if I remember correctly, let me comment that out and not assume anything. So I'm going to go to Vue. I want to see where that quantity was, right? So here I am in Pinia, cart store, and here are my products and count. Okay, so count is the thing I want to do, because if I were to up the number of items here on Crystal Louisiana's Pure Hot Sauce, yeah, this updates as well. So that's my quantity. So I will comment this back in, and we'll say product dot count. Okay. And so this means we're going to have to make a change now to our server API endpoint. Now, instead of accepting IDs, we want to accept, if we want to, we'll still get the body the same, but body has products on it now instead of IDs. And now we can just map over each of those products and get the ID out of it, kind of like we were doing on the front end. So now we just want to return product.id. That's what we call it, right? Yeah, product.id, just plain old ID. Okay. And then, once again, want to be kind of iterative and just check things as I go. So let me just return that response just to make sure we're still getting back only the 3 products, right? Okay, hit checkout. Oh, because I'm sorry, guys, because I am doing this now. So let's just console.log the response again. And this time when I hit checkout, yeah, I'm still getting the 3 products back from Stripe. So now that means this has worked correctly. Now for quantity, we want to map over our, so we're mapping here over the response.data. Okay, so this is the 3 ones from Stripe. So for quantity, we need to look up inside of our body.products. We need to look up the quantity based on the ID from the product here. Okay, so I think that's just product.id, and then inside of body.products.find. So this is the way you search for a particular element inside of an array. Use .find, and we can pass that a callback function. So we want to find the product where its ID is equal to the, we can't name this the same thing. Let's just call this P. Okay. We want to find the product where the ID is equal to the product ID that comes from Stripe. Okay. So this is the product. This is each individual product inside of our body, the request body, and this is each individual product inside of the return from Stripe. Okay. So now we've found it, and now we want to get that, what do we call it? Quantity. Yeah, now we want to get that quantity on each one. Okay, let's see if that is working for us. So I have 2 items in my cart here for the Crystal's Louisiana hot sauce. Let's hit checkout. And I am still console logging here instead of redirecting now. Okay. So now I will hit checkout, and this time we should have the thing open, and we should have 2. Yeah, there it is. We have 2 of the Louisiana hot sauce. So that's what we want. We have 1 of everything else. Perfect. All right, guys, let's see. Do we have anything else inside of this exercise that we want to accomplish? And how much time do we have left? We good on time? Okay, yeah, I think we're good on time. Nobody's stopping me. All right, so let's tackle the bonus exercise here. Which, by the way, guys, just for time's sake, I know this exercise was already a lot anyway. We aren't necessarily handling the taxes in this example. It's just the product prices outright. So, but now on the success page, once we actually check out, we want to be able to clear those items in the cart. So let me show you what happens right now. So right now, this is the page I want to be in, right? So if I hit back, we are here, which is cool, and I hit checkout again. Yeah, here we are. Okay, so I'm going to enter my email address and provide some card information. Now, one really handy feature, this is why Stripe is so very popular, y'all. Testing stuff with Stripe is super easy. So they give you this test card that you can play with. And so I don't have to enter any real test, any real card information and worry about anything being charged. And then I think you can enter anything for the date as long as it's future. So we'll say 9/29 and the CVC can be 123. So the name on the card is going to be just whatever. And I will enter my zip code because that's what I know. And then we will hit pay. Okay. And so now what Stripe is going to do is it's going to take that success URL. So over here, it's going to take that success URL and it's going to redirect us back to that. So we have control over where we go after checkout, right? And so that is just our thank you page here. And there's nothing really special, but you could give a little summary of the items checked out here, or really do kind of whatever you wanted. But the problem now is that you'll notice we still have these 3 items sitting around in the cart. And while yes, it would be nice for the customer to to buy that same exact purchase over and over again from your company, obviously that's not good user experience. So what we want to do is just clear the cart when we hit that success page. Okay, so I will open up success.vue. And then inside of success.vue, we will do a script setup. Okay. And we will just say use cart store, because remember it's auto imported. And we could say cart store here. And then we just say cart store dot products equals empty. I think that should work, right? And then everything will get synced to the server because we get that watcher on there, right? So cool. Now we've got 0 items in the cart. Now there's some hot module stuff going on here. Let me test it from start to finish just to make sure we're on track. So I'll buy a bottle of Rocky's hot sauce. I will check out. Okay, we've got $11.99 here for 1 bottle. So that is what I want to pay. And of course, put in my email and that. Oh, cool. I still had it in the clipboard. Amazing. And we'll fill out these one more time. All right. And then we will hit pay. And this time I would expect for my cart to be emptied out again once I hit that success page. Oh, unfortunately, it is not. We have 1 back there. Okay, let me refresh the page and see what we got. We've still got 1. So what have I done wrong? Oh, I know what I have done wrong. We are not making sure that the user is logged in yet. Because remember, our authentication is happening all on the front end. So it takes just a second for that to boot up with speaking a Descry and things like that. So this time I'm going to use Descry in here. Okay, so we can say const Descry equals use Descry, and then we want to, I'm not sure why my autocomplete's not working like I thought it would, but Descry.auth dot, let's see what it was in use Descry.js. So we said on auth state change. Okay, so whenever that user first gets logged in, then we want to set their cart store back to an empty array here. Okay, and this would be if the user exists, right? So if the user doesn't exist, so if not user, then we can just return early. All right, let's give that a try. See if that's any better. Okay, so this time it looks like I'm still getting the 1 item in the cart, and I'm not sure why that is. Let's console.log user here. Okay. Okay, so we do have our user We do have the user. Okay, so if not user, so this should be happening, right? So if we console.log user exists, right? We do have the user, so we are getting there. So we are setting cart store dot products back. Why is that not?
Well, you try and figure that out, Daniel.
Cart store, shall we? Or actually, you know what? I can. Oh, I'm sorry, Flora. Are you on the page with me?
Don't worry about it. I see that you're trying to figure it out. Didn't really want to stop you.
You have been talking this whole time, haven't you? And I've been muted.
I have not been talking the whole time. Just a
okay. I've been muted. I am sorry.
Don't worry about it. We actually would love to get to some questions.
Awesome.
But like keep thinking. Maybe you'll come up with the solution for this. I'm sure people will want to hear. But I want to take a couple of questions with you. So let me see, which question do we want to do first? I like this one. Can I create my own checkout page and still use Stripe to process the payments?
Sure, that is possible. It's not something I have done myself, but I know with Stripe's API, you can definitely do that.
Cool, that's super interesting. I thought this one was really fun too. What if we need to modify the prices, like when we're using coupon codes or whatever?
Yeah, I know Stripe API does support that. Like inside of the actual Stripe dashboard, you can set up those different coupon codes. And I believe on that actual like session checkout page that you create or that we just made, it will have the ability to input your codes there.
Cool. Interesting. Thank you. Let me see. There's a question here. Can a Nuxt.js app be deployed on Jamstack hosting service like Netlify and still support these server-side API routes?
Yes, actually it can. It's a really cool feature with Nuxt is you can run the whole entire Nuxt server-side framework inside of a serverless function. So we can absolutely deploy this to Netlify. Yeah, and it works really good actually.
Awesome. There was a little bit of a provocative question.
Okay.
If it's the best solution to use a CMS or rather to build from the ground up, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
Yep. So is it the absolutely, best solution? Maybe not. It might be better to go something that's a little bit more built out to begin with. And we're actually going to see that in the next session. We're going to see how we kind of contrast a more out-of-the-box solution with the kind of DIY solution we've been working on this whole time. So yeah, if you want to get super custom and do your own thing, you can do what we've done, and you can take it even, you can take it to the next level and make it even more feature rich. But is it going to take you more time? Yes. So stick around for this next session and you might save yourself some time.
Yeah, I think the answer is as to most things in tech, right? Like it depends. If you build your own, then you also need to maintain your own.
Yep, exactly.
All right, I'm feeling like we're going to a slightly longer break so everybody can get, their food and drinks in, maybe a little bio break, and then we'll be back and we're continuing coding. Thanks, everyone.
Awesome.
Thanks, Daniel.
Thanks, Flora.